I don't know very much about contemporary Devdasis at all. How are they affected by this sort of globalization, development intervention sort of trend, if at all, and if the AIDS discourse is similar to the VD discourse that used to happen in the 19th century?
From what I have read, it seems that the Devdasis, the position of Devdasis is terrible, and as this film also will show, because of economic pressures, family pressures, and lack of acceptance from society, lack of education, they are exposed to all kinds of disease as well as they are oppressed by their families. So their state is deplorable, and although there are many of the Devdasis in this film, as you might see, many of them say that they are there because of their own sweet will, and that they are independent and they are like their masters and mistresses of their own life. In fact, they are supporting men. But in reality, I think many of the Devdasis are not even from Devdasi backgrounds. There are people who, because of poverty, are pushed by their mothers and their families into this kind of to be dedicated temples like in Karnataka or in Tamil Nadu or Andhra Pradesh or even parts of Maharashtra. And so if we go back into our own society, they were very much they were definitely very much respected. They were very much accepted as part of our society. They were outside the pale of marriage and that kind of relationship, but they were part of our society and they had a lot of respect. If you go into whether you go into literary sources or if you go into other kind of sources, you will find that they were definitely respected and they were accepted. And it was this change which came about later, so it is actually something which was foreign to our culture. It was very much part of our culture to have them as part of our society.
They were invited to children's name
marriages,
marriages, and to bless the child.
Because they were supposed to be auspicious.
Yeah. But you just said that as long as you don't become a dancer, but nowadays in India, I mean, dancing is seen as a profession. Like I know Kadam School in Ahmedabad, which produces beautiful dancers. I mean, they come over, they tour here. In Delhi, there's Kathak Kendra and from very respectable Brahmin families everywhere. The girls are now dancing and they're seeing it as a profession, and I think that's a very positive step actually, that they are not now, it's not now looked down upon as it was in that kind of dark period in the history of dance.
Devdasis in the modern context, what is life for them like now, and are they still called Devdasis openly?
They are still called Devdasis. There is a whole group of, at least in Karnataka itself, there are about 30,000 Devdasis and several thousand more if you take them all together. So although they are banned and dedicated to temples of young girls is not allowed by the government. It was 1947 an act was passed which declared it illegal, and all such dedication that has been done earlier. So that is there, but despite that, as the film also mentioned, dedication to temples continued because it was like something artificial that was being imposed and something which had been carrying on for centuries. Just by legislation, it was not possible to implement it. And moreover, the government never took care to make sure that dedication does not happen. So yes, there are still thousands of Devdasis. Many of them, as I said, they belong to Devdasi backgrounds. But many of them are not even Devdasis, but because of economic pressures, they are pushed into prostitution. They are sort of dedicated to, say, Yellama temple, to the Yellama goddess in Karnataka, or to several other gods and goddesses in different parts of South India. And then they are sold off they end up in brothels anywhere in the cities of India, say in Bombay. It's in 1/3 of the people, some of the women in the brothels in some of the main areas in Bombay are from Devdasi backgrounds. So they have really been forced into prostitution because many of them, there are some examples which I would like to mention of, say, M.S. Subbulakshmi, the great Carnatic musician. She comes from a Devdasi background. She was one of the lucky ones who was a highly skilled singer who dedicated all her music to religious music, to classical music, and she married into a sort of respectable family, and she was given absolute acceptance. In fact, there are even rumors that maybe Lata Mangeshkar's family also comes from a Devdasi background. I don't know, I mean, I won't vouch for it. But I read somewhere that they belong to Goa, and they also have a tradition of Devdasi. And from her mother or father's side, she's supposed to have Devdasi background, but I'm not sure. So there are people who have sort of moved out of their Devdasi background, and now they've got merged into mainstream society, and they are totally accepted. But many of them still suffer from stigma. They are not well educated. They suffer from superstitions, or their mothers and families force them into becoming Devdasis, and then they end up as common prostitutes. There's a lot of exploitation.
My major concern is, if we are saying that the British stopped it because of whatever reasons they had, what is it that we need to do today? Because it has become an exploitative issue, particularly sexual exploitation of, I'm talking about very, very young children, girls as young as 3, 4, 5 years old. And we cannot just say it is our tradition. We cannot just say it happens, it used to happen.
Programs which raise awareness, programs which give work to people so that they're not pushing their children into such professions which are so exploitative.
Isn't this when an organisation like yours will come in very handy to do something? Yeah, and everybody supports that, yes.
And I think that's what the civil society organisations in India are doing. And in fact, Bharati used to work for Oxfam, was head of Oxfam India. So I'm sure Oxfam was involved in protecting the young girls and working with the local communities. But I think it is about raising awareness. But I think you can have awareness raising, but actually it's about economic power. When people are pushed into poverty, and actually, what does one do? And sadly, it's always the women, the girl child or the woman of the family. We work with a project where the husbands encourage the wives to prostitute because they don't have money. What do they sell? Sex. I mean, it's a cold thing. You speak to the women there and they say, there's a job.
एक बात कहना चाहूँगी कि हमारे भारत में संत मीराबाई और संत जनाबाई जो महाराष्ट्र में थी, तो वो उनकी फैमिली ने देवदासी ऐसे नहीं कहा था, लेकिन मीराबाई जो थी उनका तो उनके सारे साहित्य में हम देखते हैं कि हरि मेरो जीवन प्राण था और मेरे तो गिरिधर दूसरा न कोई,
मेरो पति सोही है ना कहते।
तो वो तो अपने खुद के चॉइस से इच्छा से देवदासी थी। और
बल्कि लड़के वो तो छोड़ के सब।
हाँ, वो तो देवदासी मीन्स अगर हम संस्कृत में इसकी फोड़ करें, मतलब उसको समास को ये करे तो देवस्य दासी ऐसा होगा। सो देव की देवाची मीन्स उसकी ही जो है, तो मेरे ख्याल से वो देवदासी का असली अर्थ था जो
बदल गया
काल के साथ बदल गया। और संत कान्होपात्रा वो तो खुद वेश्या व्यवसाय करती थी, लेकिन जब उन्होंने वो अपना वो सब छोड़ दिया और जब उनको महाराष्ट्र के ही एक संत से उनको गुरु का उपदेश हुआ, तो उन्हें तो संत ऐसा कहा गया, संत कान्होपात्रा कहते हैं उनको। तो वो भी एक इसका पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू हो सकता है कि
जी बिल्कुल। और जैसे आपने कहा, there was a देवदासी प्रवृत्ति, they used to say, or a kind of murai, the southern word, which means a kind of a tendency for or a way of life for a devdasi. And so everyone wasn't accepted by the temple to become a devdasi to go back. People used to be sort of the girls who were offered, they had to go through a proper check before they were accepted. So ये नहीं था कि कोई भी उठा के जो है देवदासी बना दिया, पैसे लेके अपना घर चले गए. It wasn't that. They had to have some qualities before they were accepted as devdasi in the temple. So it was probably different. Today what's there is different. And even in the past, probably there were variations, and there was not just devdasi period. That's what a devdasi is. Not one thing fits all. So
when we look at any issue, we have to look at the culture around that time. Like one thing which we can't really relate to this, but if you see the classical Indian temples like Khajuraho and Konark temple, you see those carvings on them. will anyone imagine in today's scenario, in today's India, that would temple have those kind of figurines on them? No, we won't accept that. Yeah, not even on temple, even outside the clubs, whatever the worst kind of clubs or brothels you think, we won't have those kind of figurines outside there. But they were in one day, yeah, around 600, 700 years, not too long ago, just 600, 700 years ago, they were on the temples. So think of the society, what society accepted at that time, and what society doesn't accept today, and why did that happen? That may give us answers to all these, many of the questions as well.